G'day mates, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm super excited because today's video is pretty much one of my favorite videos to do every season. It is all the best moments and best reactions from the reboot round. I genuinely think the reboot round is one of the best days in the competitive season because not just how insane the plays are, and honestly, I'm going to show you a few, but I'm going to show you one specifically from Wrigley, which I believe might be one of the greatest clutches we've ever seen in Fortnite. It's the reactions. The pros instantly know they've just qualified for grand finals. So I'm going to go through all of those across the regions, talk about some of the big games, and I also want to talk about the implications now of what this means for the teams that had already qualified. For example, we now have Mackwoods team winning round 4 of NA East, going through to the grand finals. Where are they now dropping? Craggy Cliffs. Whereas Pgod's team planning to drop? Craggy Cliffs. So we're going to talk a little bit about what this means for grand finals next weekend, but I love this video. You guys absolutely love the one I did last season, so let's jump in it. There's a lot to talk about. This season's reboot round was even more exciting because there was just so many of them. If you guys don't know, the way the reboot round works is they are for the remaining qualifying spots in grand finals. So whoever wins the round goes through in the grand final. Doesn't matter if you get a 9 elimination second, all that matters is the victory royale. And we had so many. EU, NA East, NA West, and OCE all had 4. Brazil had 5, and Asia Middle East had 6. You might be wondering why there's more than usual. It's because if teams that came top 3 in the last grand finals disband, that makes an extra reboot round. So in EU, we had Tayson's team disband, NA East, we had Stretch's team, for example, and a lot of the smaller regions like Middle East and Asia, the pro players are so confident, they're so comfortable in their ability to re-qualify, they disband their team, then reform together, play together, and qualify again, like we saw with Epic Whale's team in week 2 of NA West. But because they give up that spot, it makes an extra reboot round. So there was way more of them, and honestly, as a community, I don't think any of us were complaining. I'm going to kick off with NA East, and I'm going to do these in order. Game 1 was won by Wrigley, K-Burbs, and Dictating. And this came off the back of one of the most ridiculous plays I guarantee you have ever seen from Wrigley. I'm not even going to talk about it. I'm just going to show you, then I'm going to talk about it, because there's no way I can watch this clip and not just give my thoughts on how ridiculous it was.
Cabbages soon.
You have my kids on Dictate's body.
You're good, man, still.
Could act back in zone, maybe? They're chopping you. 14 builds, 10 builds. 4 builds. You hit one of these kids 100.
He might have to drop him, he's out of mouths. Nice!
All 3! All solos, all solos!
Nice!
Chuck getting down there! Matt's build.
Yep. I don't think he's gonna have charges. 2 builds.
Nice. Place one more. Cracked him.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! I'm the best!
God.
My man went down to literally 2 health at one point there. He had to spam eat the cabbages to out-heal the zone long enough to get 1 charge in his chug cannon to hit a pad to 2v1 high ground to go on to then beat threats of all people in the 1v1 at the end. Not an easy opponent. Like, that was ridiculous. A lot of people arguing, was this better than Sprite's clutch in the last FNCS? Again, everyone's going to always draw those comparisons. I don't like to say which one's better, which one's worse. I just think you have to respect how ridiculous that clutch was from a pro who is incredibly underrated. We have pros out there like Mackwood vouching for how good Wrigley is, but I myself, as someone who follows NA East a lot, Wrigley's in my Twitch chat a lot during viewing parties, real nice guy. I've watched him before. I knew he was good, but that clutch is insane. He's not even shaking. He doesn't even look nervous. And honestly, I've got to give a huge shout out to his teammates as well. Honestly, everyone's going to be focusing on Wrigley here, but K-Burbs and Dictating, they stayed calm. Their comms were perfect. They were really, really calm. They let him know exactly what was going on. When they realized he had a chance to win it, I think when he took down the second last player, they got excited, but they went back to calming. 2 mats, you've got this. His chug cannons ran out. They weren't just screaming. They weren't freaking out. And honestly, Wrigley was just laser focused in. At one point, I just didn't think that his mic even worked, but huge congrats to Wrigley. Again, all the guys who popped off today and I showed their videos, I'm going to put a link to their socials down below. Please go check them out. I mean, yeah, what a way to kick off NA East. Now, I'm not going to put too many of these in here because they are a bit of a downer, but I really want to include Threats' reaction to him not winning because I think this is just a testament to how good Jamper, Threats, and Rise are as a team and mature players. Look at how they respond to getting second in a reboot round, the most gutting thing that can really happen in your entire season.
Play your mats!
He's in zone. He got in, he got in.
Best stats. Use your scar, by the way. Your AR, your blue A has no aim.
Nice.
No!
30 HP,
That's
bro.
fine. Oh, you're fine, fine.
Try,
bro.
Fine, that was a good
Good
action, bro.
game, bro.
It does hurt to watch, especially because, spoiler, Jamper, Threats, and Rise did not end up qualifying, but man, I love the positivity. It's all good job, man. GG's, great game. You know, that was game 1. They still had 3 to go, so hopes were high, and I'm gonna have to say it as well. Jamper, Threats, and Rise, and a bit of a spoiler for EU up there, Thomas, HD, and Nas, and Flick, those are my 2 biggest upsets to not make grand finals. Not only are those teams that should be in grand finals, they're 2 teams that I very well think could have top 3'd or won grand finals. If Jamper, Threats, or Rise won grand finals, I wouldn't have been surprised at all. I genuinely wouldn't have. Their consistency at the start of the season was phenomenal. I don't really know what went wrong today. I watched all the games. They got really good loot quite a lot of times. Uncontested Holly. They got chug cannons. They got launch pads. They got so close though. I don't want to make this sound like I'm saying they played terrible. They came second in one of the games and I think they got top 10 in like every single game. So what were their placements? Yeah, they got an 11th, but then they got a 6th, and a second. So 2 6s and a second. That is so close to getting the victory out and getting through to grand finals, but still, huge props to them for the response. And they're one of the teams that I think, despite probably not having the tournament they wanted to and not having the season they wanted to, I don't think they split, and I really hope they stay together because I think next season, again, no doubt they top 3. I said at the start of this season, I'm sticking by my word. I'm still really proud of how they performed and how they handled it. Game 2 and 3, so 2 was won by Berserk, Brutal, and Gleppo, and Game 3 was won by Slick, Sharkman, and Goku. Both of those were just really good trio plays. They took high ground or they took a strong position. They used their extra meds, they used their numbers advantage, and they just won. It wasn't any crazy solo clutches, so as much as I'm not going to show the clip or get super hyped about it, you've got to give them as much, if not more credit. They showed the skills they're going to need going into grand finals. It didn't come down to one ridiculous solo clutch. It just came down to phenomenal team play, and again, they're straight through. Big shout out to Slick's team as well because they've had Coral Castle most this season and it's a pretty terrible drop, really hard to make things work from. They formed in week 3, remember, so they got in week 3, they formed, they had to get I think a top 20 or a top 15 to make it straight into the semifinals. They then played the semifinals, got a top 17, and then they won the reboot round. So Slick's team forming in week 3 were able to qualify, and this is what they showed they could do with an uncontested Lazy Lake, with a major POI. Game 1, they got 3rd. Game 2, they got the victory out. That's it. They were through. Ridiculous performance from Slick's team. Game 4, and I already gave a bit of a spoiler for this one, it went down to Mackwood, Illest, and Tragics. Now, that was the other team up there with Jamper, Threats, and Rise, where if they didn't qualify, I was going to be very surprised. They looked phenomenal. They left Craggy Cliffs because Mackwood was just sick of dealing with the south zones. If you saw their heat, 4 of the 6 zones went to Misty Mountains. It was honestly painful to watch. And of course, I think 2 of the first 3 games, maybe all 3 of them, went north to Craggy, but they had Uncon Dirty. Game 1 didn't have their surge planned out, went down really early. Game 3, they had to rotate, they got lobby focus, but game 4 is when everything was on the line, and it's when they all stepped up, but obviously Mackwood, the rock at the center of the team, he tweeted out that he had horse balls to stick that med kit, and I'm gonna show you why.
Wait, I took some damage.
Chilling, you're chilling, bro.
Let's go. Looking at height. Trying to pump mid at height.
I'm dead, I'm dead.
Cancel the med. 200 on height.
I'm dead. Oh, it's so all here, Mac.
Yes, all right there. Get the chug.
I win.
It's a 1v1.
I win. There's nothing. I win. No, I win. All my life, I win this. No, we just won. All my life, we did. Please, I swear to God, suck your mom if I don't call. All my life, please. I win.
There's nothing.
There's nothing.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
Don't count me out! Yes! Don't count me out!
Go, bro!
Oh my god!
Let's go!
Don't count me out!
He just got that med kit off. Can you imagine if he fumbled it? That's it. Their reboot round would have been over. They would have got absolutely clowned. Mackwood does make a lot of enemies with how vocal he is on social media. I mean, look at what's going on with Pgod. You know they would have jumped all over that as a chance to just make fun of him and flame him. But hey, Mackwood stepped up like a competitive veteran does. He won the heal off, and only just though. That was a really close heal off. Like, you had to think towards the end they were getting a bit nervous. Mackwood was still confident, but I was doing a replay mode viewing party, and I started to stress because there was like 4 chug cannons on low ground. I think at least 3. The heal off was going nuts. They just managed to win it. So huge props to Illis, Mackwood, and Tragics. But like I said, now this is going to cause fireworks because we have Pgod's team saying they're going Craggy Cliffs 12 games out of 12, and Mackwood is as well. Now, remember in my most recent video, I talked about how Mackwood ended up tweeting out something about how much he respected Pgod. You know, it was all about spawn beef, it was all about drama. They want an uncon drop. Pgod's team decided not to drop on Mackwood game 6 and grief them out of reboot round. Well, they might regret that now because now they're getting contested in finals. And I don't want to say that, you know, Pgod's team should have dropped on them. Again, it's hard because I love the sportsmanship. I respect Pgod's team so much for being the bigger team, being the bigger people, and deciding not to drop on Mackwood's team and take them out of the tournament. But at the same time, any pro or anyone who plays competitive Fortnite or watches a lot would have understand. It would have been tactical. Had they have dropped on Mackwood game 6 of Heat, Mackwood would not have made reboot round and would not be conning them in finals, and their chance of winning would go through the roof. So huge props to Peterbot's team. I really hope they pull it off. Again, I'm cheering for Mackwood's team as well. I want to say there's going to be no winners, but I guess for me watching, hopefully there'll be no losers because I'm cheering them both on. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how Craggy Cliffs goes in finals now. Before I move on from NA, I have to give a huge shout out to Ved, 200 Pump, and Tabney. They came 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 6th. 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 6th in reboot rounds, and they came 4th in their qualifying week where they just missed out on top 3 to go straight into the grand finals. So they just missed out by 1 place to skipping heats and reboot rounds. Then they come 2nd place, 3rd, and 4th in the reboot rounds, and even 6th as well. Like, just huge shout out to Ved's team. I hope they stick together. Clearly they are an insane team, and they fell like just so short. All right, that was the 4 games of NA East, and I'm going to jump into EU in a second, but before I do, I want to talk about OC, and I want to talk about one team in particular because I think it's such a great story and really does show why the reboot rounds are so hyped. So, we had Tuii, Alex, and Sons. Now, these are players you may have heard of if you pay attention to OCE. Outside of OCE, you potentially haven't. They are phenomenal players, but Alex hasn't been around for a while. If you guys watched at all during my streams way back when I was doing OCE Duo FNCS, we had Alex and Tuii, one of the best duos in OCE. Super wholesome team, real typical Boomer Zoomer combo. Tuii's not that old, but I think because Alex was just this insanely cracked younger player, it just kind of made this really cool dynamic. It turns out Alex wasn't actually 13. He was 12 years old at the time competing, and this is one that was interesting for me. I've always stood by the 13-year-old age limit because I think the amount of stress that these pros go through, the amount of money that's involved, it really does require a level of maturity potentially above the age of 13. But for me, maturity isn't always linked to age. Alex was and is a really good kid who just wanted to compete. He wasn't toxic, he showed up, he played well, he got along with everyone, never caused any dramas, but unfortunately because he was outplacing other players, they went out of their way to find his dad's, I think it was a work profile. They then found the work profile, found a post he made about his son, Alex, then predated the dates to figure out that Alex wasn't 13, then exposed him to Epic, got him banned, and then Alex's response was just, all right, I'm gonna sit back, I'm gonna wait till I'm 13, I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna dominate just as hard. And that's what Alex did. He played Arena, he did things he could do when he wasn't 13, but he didn't play any tournaments, didn't step out of line, and Tuii, as soon as Alex turned 13, wanted him back. He wanted to play with him again. So much so that Tuii and Sons didn't play week 1 with Alex because he wasn't 13. He turned 13 for week 2, then they played together. That's how much faith Tuii had in Alex and how badly he wanted to play with him. Unfortunately, heats didn't go the way they wanted to. Tuii's tweeting out the fact they just didn't take it seriously enough. They thought it was going to be too easy, but don't worry, they're going to clutch up Reboot round. And that's what they did. Let me show you their clip and let me show you their reaction because it makes the whole story that much sweeter.
Chug yourself, please, just heal. I'm reloading. I have 0 max. Can you build?
No, that's my last build.
Get it.
Stop down. Dead.
Get the chug.
Nice! Oh my god, yes! Oh my god!
Don't tweet.
Yes!
Oh my god.
Just such a wholesome reaction to winning, and I gotta make sure, I know I'm hyping up the story of Alex and Tuii because they go way back, but I literally reached out to Alex and Tuii to make sure they didn't mind me using the clip and talking about it, and the first thing they said was make sure that I'm gassing Sons up as well as the MVP of their trio, so shout out to Sons as well. Just an all-round wholesome performance from a team that I'm rooting for going into finals. While on the topic of the OCE reboot round, a lot of you guys commented the last video saying Twins are now in the finals, someone got disqualified. I just want to clear up that whole situation. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I don't want to go into the witch hunting of it, but a team that came top 6 in the heat that Twins played in did get accused of ghosting. They were coaching another team, and they gave information that appeared to only be gained by watching another stream at the time. Again, they've defended themselves. Some of the community have attacked them. Some people saying that it wasn't ghosting. Again, I don't like the witch hunting. Unless Epic actions it, I'm not going to talk about it really. I'm not going to try and post names or anything like that, but I wanted to make it clear at this point, Epic has done nothing about it, so Twins are not in the finals. Also, if I had to give my opinion, and this is based not on the clips at all, just based on how Epic normally handle these things, I don't think they will be banned, and I don't think it will be actioned. Epic has a tendency to not really take a stance when it comes to any of the kind of, stream sniping or ghosting or any of the things that happen outside of the game that they can't 100% conclusively prove. Now, moving on to EU, there's not as many reactions, but the games were super exciting, and I was really surprised by some of the teams that qualified, or more notably, I'm surprised by some of the teams that didn't. The teams that qualified all played phenomenally. Game 1, Sean VP, Andy, and AOS, or L2R2. I forget the actual name of the player. I'm so sorry. I really am trying with the people changing their names. I know AOS is their org. If you guys know, comment it down below so everyone else can see it. Huge pop-off by them. They won it, and honestly, it was on the back of a huge solo clutch by zAndy. He only uploaded the last 30 seconds of it as well. I mean, here's just the reaction. It was so hyped. They got super excited.
Flopper, slurpfish, and slurpfish. Get the slurpfish. Run, zAndy, run, just run. Yeah, you're good. You're on high. No mats, zAndy. You need to go back into zone. No, go into zone. Don't stay there, go into zone, zAndy. Go into zone. Yeah, go back, you in.
It's a 1v1.
Yeah, you in this, zAndy. Just stay. Nice, you cracked him. You flappers, everything. Spray him so you can PUBG. Go back into zone.
He played the majority of this endgame as a solo, so huge props to Andy there. He really did carry his team across the line there. And hey, Sean VP believed as well, tweeting out that he's the best player he's ever played with. We have our first IRL reaction. I love these. I mean, we see a lot of them in EU because of the boot camp. Throwback to last season when we had Marion's team go up against Seti's team at the very end, but we had Rotary. Now, I really hope I'm pronouncing this right. Again, EU names are always a struggle for me. I believe it's TosiAlpha. He had his name as Visu0P. Visu's the org that he signed to. And then we had OVLDER. I don't know, Ovalda or Elder. I'm sorry, I'm so bad, but huge pop off from them. It was a ridiculous game. And again, this is going to be TosiAlpha's reaction.
Убить. Убил, ладно. Луч. Держи ВГ. Лast чел, парни. Вон он.
Game 3 went to a team that a lot of people were expecting to do well, Kezix, ZQ, and Falconly. Now, this one was hard as well because they were getting contested by Freemock at Believers Beach. So they didn't have an uncon drop by any means. They still managed to push all the way through, and they got the 8 elim victory out, which is massive for them. And the last game, we had Tenzin, Jaggy, and Trixie on EU get the 10 elim win as well. So huge pop-offs from both of them, but it means we were missing out on a lot of big teams out of EU. We had Rezumi's team miss out in the end. We had Bad Sniper's team. We had Krizzy's team miss. We had Freemock's team miss. We had Bloomy miss. We had Snagged miss. We had Podesai miss. We had Leshy miss. Like, we had Milan miss. We had Paco miss. Just, again, I could run the whole leaderboard, but EU was so stacked, and it's not to take away from the top 4 teams that made it through, a few of them being big favorites, but not all of them. But I don't want to take it away from them. They played phenomenally on the day, and that's what matters. Alright guys, that does it for another video. I'm sorry I couldn't really do much about the other regions. I was trying to find some reactions, trying to find some clips, and it was hard, and I don't want these videos to just drag on for forever, so I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please chuck a like on it. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on anything I talked about today. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.